So we have a keynote next, a topic that's been woven through the past day, and we're going to hear more about it today, but around cybersecurity, right? So the risk created by the quantum threat is already real, it's increasing. In order to prepare for cybersecurity challenges and put together a framework for this momentous event, Y2Q, whatever you want to call it, and secure it for the future, action must be taken today. So we're delighted to have Bruno Huttner, the Director of Strategic Quantum Initiatives at Quantique. He's going to talk about quantum cryptography, securing the future in our connected world. Please join me in welcoming Bruno.
Hello, it's a pleasure being here with you today. We're going to talk about something which has been discussed already, so I would like to bring you a slightly different viewpoint on it. I hope it will be of interest to you, and really talking about quantum cryptography as a way to secure our cybersecurity in the future. We will start with quantum cryptography, obviously, and then spend a little bit of time on the computer, quantum computer, to understand the difference between classical and quantum. We discussed the quantum threat already, so I will move quickly to quantum safe solutions to show you what can be used today to recover our cybersecurity, which we are losing due to the quantum threat. And this is called quantum safe solutions. And I hope I have some time to go a little bit forward in future development on a brief conclusion. So let's start about quantum cryptography. Maybe I should move here. The idea is really to change completely the paradigm, and instead of relying on math in order to provide security, you will use quantum systems. So you take qubits, we will go back to that in a moment, to provide cryptographic functions. On this table, I show you what are the pros and cons very briefly about using quantum instead of classical mathematics. The first thing is that if you base your security on something completely different, then you have another layer. It doesn't really matter if it's so good or so bad, but the idea is that you have something different. So if somebody will attack one layer, you have the other one which is so different that it will not be attacked by the same technique. Somebody who wants to break things which have both quantum and classical will require breaking two totally different systems. A very nice feature you have with quantum is provable security. The security we have will rely on quantum mechanics. Some people could say maybe quantum mechanics is wrong. That's still possible. But let's say it's very, very unlikely. So when I say provable, I mean that if quantum mechanics is right, then in principle, quantum cryptography is secure. You do not have a computational assumption. Again, what is really important, it's a very different set of problem, of assumptions. On one side maths, on the other quantum. And quantum cryptography is natively quantum safe because it does not rely on the computer. Whatever computer you have, it doesn't matter. On the pros, you see I put something which normally you put on the cons, and of course I have it on both sides here, is the fact that it's a physical layer. In fact, today, most of the attacks we see are not direct attack, but remote attack. You got one guy somewhere in front of his computer trying to take many computers together, command them, and ask them to attack a given target from far away. You can do that because you're using mathematics. Once you use quantum, it's impossible. The fact that quantum is at a physical layer means that you need a physical attack. If I am connecting to somebody else in one country and somebody wants to attack my connection, they have to send people there. They have to send a team of people who would go after the connection and do something about it physically. It's slightly more complicated than to sit in your own country, maybe the other side of the world, and attack the system. That's why I think the fact that it's physical layer is actually sometimes a plus. It will be also sometimes a minus. The last pro I see today is that it's available. You can use it right now. Oops, sorry, I need my cons. Of course, physical layer is also a problem because we have limited distances. We are doing quantum cryptography between 2 points, point to point, and the distance between these 2 points is today limited with a given link. If you want to go further, you need to build a network, and it's more complex. You need so-called trusted nodes. So let's say the distance can be an issue. So that's one of the limitations. One strong limitation, seemingly, is that you need to build a new infrastructure. It's a physical thing, so you need to build something. The good thing is that you don't need to change all your optical fiber infrastructure. You can use what you have and just change the endpoint somehow by adding these small boxes. So it is a complication, but let's say it's not impossible. And the one main thing you need to remember about quantum cryptography is that it cannot be used for all cryptographic functions. I will go back to that in a moment. It's very important to realize that if you want to use quantum, you will still need mathematics. You need both, but you cannot rely on quantum alone. In order to understand quantum, let's go back to classical. So if you wonder what this is a computer. Okay? I call it the Edbok computer. Actually, it's very simple. A computer, some of you may know, is exactly equivalent. It's a Turing machine. A Turing machine is a system where you have a long memory, okay? And this is my memory. These are my bits, okay? I didn't bring eggs. I brought balls because, you know, in the plane I was afraid that they would break or something. A classical computer is simply a machine where you can put your ball in one of the second hole. Here I show you that it's a double well, but I thought it would be nicer to show it like that. And the Turing machine is a very, very long egg box with thousands and hundreds of thousands of eggs. And you just have a machine which is telling you, take this one, 0, move it 1, it's a 1. So you move from 0 to 1. So you have this very long ruler with my eggs, and you have a rule saying, okay, when it's here, you move it there, then you move to the next one. I move this here, or I come back here, and then you can move this back and forth with this crane taking my egg from here to there. That's everything you need to make a computer. And the strange thing is that all the computers we have, from your mobile phone to the strongest, most powerful computer you have, are equivalent to this. Not exactly, obviously. A real computer will move a bit faster than I can do. Instead of a second, it will be millions of a second. And of course, the size of my boxes will be slightly smaller as well. But otherwise, it's exactly equivalent to that. When you go to quantum, you got something different. Your quantum qubit, the difference is that instead of having my egg in one or the other, I can somehow build a coherent superposition of the eggs, which means that my egg is both ways, both at the same time, in both holes. We all know about the Schrödinger cat, which is alive and dead. Here it's the same. My qubit is a little bit there and a little bit there. It's not a broken egg. It's just a full egg. It's only one, but somehow it is delocalized over 1 and 2. It's called coherent superposition. And that's the only difference you have between this and a classical machine. And this is enough to make something very, very different. I'm not going to discuss the quantum computer with this model. I'm going to discuss quantum cryptography. Quantum cryptography is really based on these qubits. So, what is the difference? What can you do? With single qubits, we are simple people in quantum cryptography. We work with simple systems. We work with single qubits. With a single qubit, you can already do something which is impossible classically. It is to provide randomness. By preparing my state in a coherent superposition of 0 and 1, when I measure it, the result is random. That's coming from quantum mechanics. There is nothing you can do about it. Even if your initial state is the most precise you can build, you will still get randomness when you measure it. And that's how we can generate randomness. And as you know, randomness is a key element to build cryptography. So quantum, with one single qubit, can already do something you cannot do classically. Classical mechanics is deterministic. It's very hard to get randomness from classical mechanics. The second thing you can do with quantum cryptography is to generate these shared secrets. Here it's slightly more complex. Instead of one qubit in one state, I choose Alice, who wants to send the secret, will choose a qubit in one of the three states I put here. So she says, okay, I want to send this, that, or that. Eve, on the way, trying to eavesdrop, will try to find out what Alice has sent. However, from quantum mechanics, it's telling you if you have three states, mathematically it's called they are not orthogonal, but if you have three different states and you want to measure, you will not be able to separate them perfectly. So Eve receives one state, she doesn't know which one it is, she will try to find out, but by doing so, she will always make some mistakes. Sometimes she will be right, sometimes she will be wrong. And therefore, Bob at the other end will manage to find out if Eve was trying to eavesdrop by looking at the errors. Of course, in order to do that, Alice and Bob will need so-called discussion channel. It's a bit more complex, but it can be done. And the idea is really, again, that quantum mechanics provides you something which is not possible classically, which is to generate this shared secret between two distant users perfectly. This is available today. If we want to go a bit further, we need a few more bricks. We need to build them. Some companies are actually working hard on that, and there is even one here. And what we need in order to get to the next step are two things. The first one is a quantum memory. That's very simple. It's take a qubit, put it aside, and get it out afterwards. It looks simple classically. It's not so simple in quantum mechanics. People are working on that, and that's really a crucial element we miss in order to go to the next step with quantum cryptography. Once you have this quantum memory, you can build what is called a quantum repeater. A little bit more involved, but not that much. Again, what you need is to take two qubits and make a special measurement on them, which is called a Bell measurement, and from that you can then untangle with another one. The idea is, if you look at the graph here, by doing this Bell measurement, you use the result of the Bell measurement to modify the state going out, and what you can do is really to take the first state and send it to the other one. It's called quantum teleportation, basically. And this is the basis of a quantum repeater. If you want to know more, I'm doing a workshop in this afternoon, and we can discuss that further. But these two bricks we add will be the next step to quantum cryptography. So let's go now a little bit to the quantum computer. We discussed already that a lot, many times. Quantum computer, as I said, is based on these qubits. And the idea with these qubits, by making this superposition, I made a superposition, I explained to you what is it for one qubit. Now, if we make superposition states for many qubits, we built a very large entangled state, that's the name it has. And this entangled state is somehow a little bit of every possible state. And this way, you can really have a massively parallel computer. When you work with a quantum computer on this entangled state, somehow one computation step is working on all the possible initial state and not only one. Classically, you take one state, toc, 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 and you move it. Quantum mechanically, you take one state, make this entangled state on all the possible one, and every computational step works on all of them together. That's why a quantum computer is often called a massively parallel computer, and therefore you can solve problems in much fewer steps. And some problems which were hard become easy. We discussed that a lot during this conference, and you can solve new problems. That's great. But there is a dark side, which by solving this new problem, one of these problems is factoring. Factoring is the basis of cryptography, and that's why the quantum computer is a threat for cybersecurity. We discussed that before. Why is it important now? Because even if you don't have a full quantum computer being able to do that on these large inputs, you can already think about the threat today, because people could take everything you send on the internet and decrypt them later, and that again has been discussed several times before. So what we need now is quantum safe solution. We need to get out of this threat and go back to cybersecurity. Luckily, we have tools. And here I give you our toolbox for quantum safe. And you see there is, some of them have a little m, some of them have a little q, q for quantum, m for mathematics. I'm not going to discuss all of them here. I will go that a little bit later, but you see that if you want to use the whole toolbox we have, you should really try and go and select the tool you need in order to do the right job. If you say, I don't want to use quantum, you have a reduced set. If you use only quantum, you don't have all the tools. And that's really maybe the most important part of my message today, is really do not choose one or the other, adapt to what problem you have. Different solutions for different needs. And if you need a given crypto function, there are different ways to get it. And I put here a little table. If you want to generate randomness, clearly my belief is that it's much better to use quantum. Quantum is intrinsically non-deterministic. It's the best, the easiest way to generate randomness without any problem. If you need another function, which is authentication, integrity, or signature, then you can choose between maths and physics. Most people would use math, but you know there are also some physical solution. It's called physically unclonable functions. It's like a little token you can put to your computer or somewhere, and this token cannot be duplicated. You can have quantum, or you can have classical, you can protect it in different ways, but that's a way to make sure also you can authenticate yourself to somebody else with this very special token. So you can also choose between one and the other. If you want to exchange a key, which you will use then for symmetric encryption, again, you have mathematical solution, post-quantum, and you have quantum solution like quantum key distribution. So you see here again, we see already that you really need to choose which one is best. We will go that in a moment. For encryption today, the only solution which is fast enough is mathematics with symmetric crypto. If you want to encrypt gigabit or tens of gigabit or hundreds of gigabits gigabit per second, the only solution is symmetric crypto with mathematics. But of course, symmetric crypto means exchanging keys, so you need to go back to the key exchange, select the way you want to exchange the keys in order to do that. Why is quantum sometimes better than classical? Why would use QKD sometimes? The main issue here is about timing. And timing depends on the crypto function. If you want to have integrity or authentication, you need to have that up to the time of your transaction. Today, if I want to send something, a new software, what I want to be sure is that today nobody can claim I'm Microsoft. If I'm Microsoft trying to send a software, I need to make sure that people will receive my software when it hasn't been tampered with. So I need to sign it, and I need to make sure that somebody using the software will use the right one. So you need the system to work up to the transaction. Afterwards, you don't care. Confidentiality is a little bit more tricky, because when you transfer something over the internet, over a network which is not protected, you make a bet. You make a bet that what you protect will remain protected for a long time. You don't want somebody in 2 weeks, 1 month, 1 year, depending on how important is the information, to break it. So when you want confidentiality, you put a bet on the future. And that's where QKD is a good candidate for offering long-term confidentiality. When you do mathematics, any computational security, we say, comes with an expiry date. If today I use a given system to encrypt, to send my key, for example, I know that because of the progress in algorithm, maybe a quantum computer, stronger computers, whatever, the security will go down. We saw that even with here, for example, the Diffie-Hellman transaction. We thought it would go down slowly, but then at some stage the quantum computers come, and you see how it's coming down very quickly within probably less than 10 years. With post-quantum, it's something similar. It will go down. We hope it will not go down too fast, and therefore that you can still have good security. With quantum, you see the key exchange remains the same. If today I do a transaction with QKD, the security of the key remains the same. Doesn't change with time because there is no computation. Either you attack now or you never do. And that's why we believe it's important to add QKD as a tool, to add quantum cryptography as a tool for the future. Really, confidentiality is a bet on the future. adding quantum is a good way to improve your odds with this bet. And again, this is my only marketing slide, and again, you can come and see us at the booth there. Just a few seconds on future development. I'm above, but I started late, so I think I'm still okay, more or less. Just to show you a little bit even further in the future. I showed you my quantum repeater before, and if you put these quantum repeaters one after the other, you can then distribute entanglement over any distance. So you start with an entangled state, you need to be able to store it somewhere, okay, that's one side. Then you do quantum repeater, and at the end you got the same entangled state, but now as far away as you want, assuming, of course, you have enough quantum repeaters. So you can really generate entanglement over any distance. One big problem here is that when you do several of these, the entanglement will go down gradually. The quality of the entanglement will go down, and you will need to improve it by processing. By processing the entanglement, it's called entanglement purification, which is a local operation you do on both sides. You can actually go back to any value, any quality of entanglement you want. So I send 1,000 entangled qubits by this system, but they are not very good. And out of these 1,000, I purify, and I make one extra good qubit. Very expensive, but I can do it. Once you have that, you can build a whole network. And that will be a quantum network which will distribute entanglement worldwide from any point to any point in such a way that nobody in between can know anything. Or more precisely, you go back to QKD, it means that if anybody is trying to find out what was happening, you will see it from the ends. So Alice and Bob will get their qubits from the quantum network, test them, make sure that they are good enough, and then they can use them for security, for connecting quantum computers, for many other stuff, and ultimately that will be the quantum internet. But for us, what is really important is that it's also a global quantum key distribution system where you can send keys or exchange keys, because you don't really send them, you exchange them somehow worldwide. As a conclusion, I hope I showed you that quantum cryptography is just a different route for cryptography. It's an extra route. You don't replace, you add another toolbox, another tool in your toolbox. It's natively quantum safe, and we have selected use case already today. Okay, we can use quantum cryptography in several instances. We think, by what I've said right now, that we will have many more in the future. It's work in progress. And really what I would like to advocate is use both. Use quantum cryptography, use post-quantum cryptography. It's almost the same, just a post in front of one or the other. Physically, they're very, very different, obviously. So use both. Choose what you need for choose a solution which is right for your problem. And don't believe that one solution will be the best for everything. I think really we need to look at each problem and find a solution. Thank you.